Picture this, you step into a car, and instead of that nice, solid, firm settling motion, the entire car just starts bouncing uncontrollably down the street, up, down, over and over every single time you hit a tiny pebble. It would be an absolutely ridiculous, not to mention nauseating ride, right? So why doesn't a car just keep bouncing forever? Well, by the end of this explainer, you're going to understand the exact physical restoring force that makes objects bounce, the core formula behind it all, and exactly how to apply it to some really cool real-world calculations. Section 1, Hooke's Law, explained. Okay, let's dive right in by looking at what happens when you mess with a simple plastic ruler. Imagine you're holding one end of a ruler firmly on your desk and letting the other end hang off the edge. When you pull that ruler over to the left, you are deforming it. And Newton's first law tells us things don't just randomly change direction on their own. But deforming that ruler triggers what we call a restoring force. Literally, it's a force fighting back against your pull, trying desperately to yank that ruler back to its natural, stable center. This right here brilliantly illustrates the mechanics of an oscillation. You let the ruler go and it snaps back to the center. At that exact center point, the net force is actually zero. But wait, it doesn't stop there. The ruler has momentum, so it pushes past the center to the right side, which causes a new deformation, creating a restoring force back to the left. It just keeps ping-ponging back and forth until friction eventually calms the whole thing down. Now that we get the gist of a restoring force, let's translate this into the famous formula that defines it, Hooke's Law. The simplest oscillations happen when this restoring force is directly proportional to the displacement. We write this out as F equals negative kx. So F is your restoring force, x is your displacement, basically how far you bent the object, and k, well, k is a special constant. Now hold on. Here is a classic student trap. You're probably looking at this and thinking, wait, why is there a negative sign in this equation? Are we somehow dealing with negative forces? The reason is actually pretty simple. The restoring force and the displacement literally always point in opposite directions. Think about the car. When a heavy load pushes the car down, which is a negative displacement, the spring's restoring force is pushing up in the positive direction. That little negative sign just keeps our directional math perfectly accurate. Section 2, the force constant K. Let's make this super concrete with an example. We know F and X now. But what exactly is that K we mentioned? The force constant, K, is directly related to the rigidity or stiffness of a system. Basically, it's a stiffness score. The bigger the force constant, the stronger the restoring force, and the stiffer the system. We measure this in units of newtons per meter. To picture this, let's compare a super stiff car suspension to a flimsy little toy spring. The car is going to have a massively higher force constant. You need a ridiculous amount of force to compress a car spring even a tiny bit, whereas a toddler can compress a toy spring with a gentle squeeze. High K versus low K. Let's crunch some numbers with a real-world scenario. Imagine an 80-kilogram person gets into a car, and the car settles 1.20 centimeters. Let's work step by step to find that car's K value. Step 1. Equilibrium is 0. The displacement, x, is downward, so it's negative 0.012 meters. Step 2. The restoring force is equal to the person's weight pushing down, so 80 kilos times gravity, 9.8 meters per second sported, gives us 784 newtons. Finally, we just rearrange Hooke's law to solve for k. K equals negative F divided by x. Do the math. Negative 784 newtons divided by negative 0.012 meters, and we find that the force constant of the car's suspension is a massive 6.53 times 10 to the fourth newtons per meter. That is one incredibly stiff spring. Section 3, storing elastic potential energy. Now let's connect this to real life by talking about the energy it actually takes to compress those heavy car springs. Because in physics, doing this requires real, measurable work. Which brings up a really fascinating question. Where does the energy go when you do work to deform a system? If you push down hard on a spring and it just sits there compressed, you've expended energy. Did that energy just vanish into thin air? Not at all. Assuming we aren't losing energy to things like sound or thermal heat, all of that work you just did is secretly stored directly inside the object. We call this elastic potential energy. It's essentially trapped motion, just waiting to be unleashed. And we calculate this stored energy mathematically with a brilliant formula. Elastic potential energy equals 1/2 times the force constant K times the displacement x squared. Notice that the displacement is squared, meaning the further you stretch or compress a spring, the energy stored doesn't just go up steadily, it increases exponentially. Section 4. Real-world applications. Let's look at a totally different example to see how this builds when we examine a toy tranquilizer gun spring. This is going to perfectly show us how stored energy translates directly into moving energy. Imagine a dart gun that has a spring constant of 50 newtons per meter, and to cock the gun, the spring is compressed by 0.150 meters. We simply plug those exact values into our elastic potential energy equation, 1/2 times 50 times 0.150 squared. The math reveals exactly 0.563 joules of energy is sitting there stored inside that cocked tranquilizer gun spring. Half a joule might sound like a tiny number, but for a tiny dart, it packs quite a punch. Here's the cool part. When the gun is fired, if we neglect friction, all of that stored potential energy converts entirely into kinetic energy. The tension stored in the spring literally becomes the motion energy of the dart. If we set our 0.563 joules equal to the kinetic energy formula for a 2-gram dart, the math tells us that the dart would be ejected at a highly impressive speed of 23.7 meters per second. That's over 80 kilometers per hour, generated entirely by a perfectly calculated little mechanical spring. Mind-blowing, right? Section 5, key takeaways and summary. All right, before we wrap up, let's quickly summarize the most important things we covered in this explainer so you can lock them into memory. We've seen how Hooke's law, F equals negative kx, mathematically links restoring force to displacement. We learned that the force constant, K, is essentially the stiffness constant of a system, and we've seen exactly how to calculate the work trapped inside a spring using the stored elastic potential energy formula. I'll leave you with a little practical puzzle to test your understanding today. Think back to that plastic ruler. If holding it at the very edge creates one level of rigidity, how could you modify your grip to instantly increase the system's stiffness? Think about how length affects a force constant, and maybe even test it out on your desk right now. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to check out our next explainer where we tackle the